You know, the United States is on top. First off, understand, Korea has become a global superpower. And many people around the world see Korea this way. And, you know, they are seeing Korea in ways that very often Koreans don't necessarily see themselves. But what's important is the United States, we became rich, we became really wealthy because we went out around the world and we made things happen for us. We, in large part, took things from other people in our benefit throughout the later part of the 19th century and the 20th century. But Korea didn't do that. You know, you did this on your own. You didn't go conquer other nations, right? You did this on your own. You did it through hard work and you did it through education. And this is really worth noting for us as professors, and for me as someone who studies the political economy and development of the global world. So there's something in this.
And this might be that the hidden things underneath the surface that we can't see. But the competition, the fierce competition that exists in the same space, the space of education, and yet underneath it is a fire. That's education, that's mass education.
This mass education, and there's a lot of focus on memorization here in Korea. You know, because especially when you think about the CSAT exam, the Sunan exam, what you're trying to do is figure out who's going to get to go to the top universities, the SKY universities. And the only fair way to do that is to have a score. And a single score is going to make that happen. But then what that means is, and so they're going to memorize and focus on the facts, but that's not thinking.
You know, as another part of the comparison, we were talking about this with our Penn State students and Konkuk students over the past couple weeks, and we talked about cheating. The American students were saying, we don't care if our friends cheat. Korean students were like, oh my God, how would you help someone to be better than you? And our students were like, whatever, I'm still gonna get my grade. Okay, it was fascinating.
But the Korean students were no. So a question for the panel here. How was it to feel, did you feel like you had to study hard? Like if you didn't study hard, your lives would be just ruined?
하기 싫었는데 했어요. 제가 나오는 고등학교가 그보다 더 심했거든요.
잠깐 고등학교, 대학교를 좀 말씀해 주시겠습니까?
고등학교는 한국과학영재학교라고. I'm from Korea Science Academy. It was a gifted high school. 그리고 대학교는 카이스트라는 곳을 나왔고요. It's a Korean MIT.
좀 쉽지 않은 곳인데.
근데 스카이캐슬보다 더 심한 경쟁 환경이 있다 보니까 공부를 안 하고 싶어도 네, 옆에 있는 애들 보면은 괜히 주눅 들어서 더 열심히 하게 되고 막 그런 게 있었어요. 부모님은 오히려 워워 하셨죠. 얘가 너무 잠도 안 자고 공부를 하니까. 중학교 2학년 때 이후로는 공부하라는 말씀을 한 번도 하신 적이 없어요.
그럼 스스로 주변 환경 때문에 영향을 좀 받은 거예요?
네, 그쵸. 그때부터.
Well, let's say a couple things, you know. Here's an image of, you know, we see this, right? Here, we see it with our Korean students. Many of the Korean students who we encounter at at Penn State University, they come to the U.S. because they want to escape the high levels of competitiveness here. And so they say, yeah, I just go to the U.S., it's a lot easier. And so many say, God, it's actually really easy to do well in the U.S. compared to in Korea. There's that viral video that we did in my class many years ago of my students. Many of you have probably seen it, where I compared an American woman and a Korean woman. So how about school? How do you do? Are you smart?
I hope so. I don't know.
What's your GPA?
I think I'm okay. It's over 3.0.
What's your GPA?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, go ahead. Korean woman who I met with a couple times here in Korea that had been studying was graduating Penn State in 2 years, and she had two majors, a science major and a psychology major.
와.
And she had a 3.8 GPA.
와.
She said, "Oh, I'm not very smart."
야, 대단하다.
Whereas the American woman had a 3.2 GPA, a very relatively low GPA, and she said, "Oh yeah, I'm really smart."
Korean students tend to lead with humility and downplay their success and really just quietly succeed in their studies.
You know, I mentioned the Sky Universities here, and I'm thinking about, everybody talks about the Sky Universities. You know, for us, it's the equivalent of the Ivy League universities. And Koreans are obsessed with them, the top schools. And we laugh at that because most Americans are not obsessed with the Ivy League schools. You know, you might not really understand this.
아예 안 됩니다.
They don't want to go to the Ivy League. Many of our students, most of our students, they come to our university because we have a really big football program.
와.
와,
The stadium. This is exciting. And if you go to one of these games, you feel this energy and the passion, and you're like, I want to go there. That's cool. But our university, it's a very good university in the United States, but it is not Ivy League. And I would say, I don't know what percentage of our students, if they had a chance to go to Penn State or to go to Harvard or Yale or Princeton, they absolutely would go to Penn State because they want that other experience. And here, you know, it's hard. You know, it's really difficult for this current generation of young people in Korea. It's different. You're highly educated, you're overly educated. You know, 70% of this age group of 25 to 35, you have college degrees, but you don't. If you work hard and you do what you need to do, and then we promise success to you. But there aren't that many great jobs. You all can't have the top jobs. What we are experiencing among Korean youth is this kind of disillusionment and this angst and anxiety that comes from the fact of, like, they feel like they're not going to be able to go to that next level. It's like nunchi is a thing that is, I remember when Kim Mi-young, MK, came to my class many years ago, and I just asked her this question, hey, explain nunchi to my class. And she explained it, but it's very complicated. But nunchi is something that we've discovered and we really like. And maybe one of the biggest reasons we keep coming back to Korea is because we're trying to understand nunchi.
It's so true.
We were at a meal with
Just a high-level person.
a high-level person in Korea. We would actually three high-level people. One was a friend of ours, and we were invited to this meal. And Lori and I were sitting together on this side, someone here, and then someone here. And I felt like Lori was not practicing high.
I'm not Korean.
She was not working with nunchi, okay? Lori was being Lori.
I was working with what is my social intelligence in US, right? Which is like trying to understand how to break the ice with people, how to get them to speak more about themselves personally.
You were talking pretty loudly and fast, which is what you do. You're from New Jersey.
저 우리나라 사람이 아니니까.
This is bad nunchi. And so tried to like kind of kick her under the table, like, but she didn't understand. So I was like, okay, so then I practiced bad nunchi because I took our friend here later the next day and I said, hey.
And all three of us were together.
We were together. I said, hey, can you just be honest with us? At that meal yesterday, I have the idea that Lori was exhibiting very kind of low levels of nunchi. She's our friend. What's she gonna say? But I put her in a very bad position because, yeah, Lori was not using good nunchi. Then she has to lie and say, no, it was fine.
But she's saying something that will be hurting, disrespectful maybe?
They would hurt her and hurt the relationship. And so then I'm practicing bad nunchi, right? But yesterday we were in a van in the United States. So I'm more of an elder, right? I'm old, okay? So people who are under me, who have less power, I want them to feel equal to me, because that's what we do in the United States. So in the van, I climbed to the very back seats of the van. I said, no, I will sit back here. The younger people were saying, no, you can't sit back there. You have to sit up here. And I want to show them, no, you're equal to me. I value you. Really, I will sit in this seat. But then I realized they're uncomfortable because I'm back there. So my nunchi kicked in and I said, no. Go sit in the front seat. And so then the next time we got in the van, I sat in the front seat.
And it's still hard to know.
Yeah, we never know.
It's hard to ask those questions.
But it's part of the magic of Korea. Like in the US, like you have one word, nunchi. We don't have a word. So, it's so complicated.
4명의 사람이 있는데요. 5개의 초콜릿이 있습니다. 마지막 남은 하나는 주인이 누구죠? 마지막 남은 하나는
벌써 불편해.
다 배고파. 똑같아. 기본값은 똑같아. 다 배고프고 나이도 똑같고 성별도 똑같습니다.
In Korea, the person who picks up the chocolate, picks it up and says, hey, is anybody going to have this? Would never be the person who then eats it. And if everyone said no, the Korean would never say, okay, well, in that case, I will eat it. Because that would
맞아요.
be just bad.
Right.
But in the US, we would do that. Say like, oh, no one wants it. Okay, I will have
This
it.
is a good subject for a lecture in
I could
Social
do that.
19.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
I think many people in the world, books are written about it. It's a very intriguing facet and feature of social life here. All right, one of the things that I think is important is that the part of nunchi, at least from an outsider's perspective, that is the reading the room aspect of things, is what all people do in social life. I mean, this social intelligence aspect is what all people are doing. But we're reading differently, right?
And in a collectivist culture, you really need lots of social intelligence. Because if you are so concerned with people around you in a more collectivist-oriented culture, you have to be really clear about who's in charge. Because you see, you're all in this together. And so it's more difficult to understand who's in charge. In an individualist-oriented culture, it's going to be much more clear, like who's in charge, what are they going to do, what are their roles, how much power do they have?
I think one thing that we do agree about is the indirectness of the way the nunchi operates compared to the directness that is really required of us in the United States.
Yeah. In an individualist, but it doesn't have to be fine-tuned in the way that it does here. And I said, well, this is a nation of nunchi. Here, you have to be practicing nunchi without practicing nunchi. You have to be doing it without even thinking about it.